On the slope of a dormant volcano lies Aden. It's Yemen's second biggest city, the main base for troops from the United Arab Emirates fighting to defeat various rebel groups. But allegations of torture of male prisoners have emerged from the Emiratis' military headquarters here, with one of those prisoners agreeing to tell us his story for the first time.
كان إذا أظلم الليل إذا جاء الليل عند الإماراتيين تسمع الصياح من كل مكان، هذا يعلق، هذا يكهرب، هذا يعرين، هذا يضرب كل ليل. وارتضيناها شعارا في الحياة.
Adel al-Hassani was a commander in the Yemeni government forces as well as a sheikh from a powerful tribal family. We don't care about tyrants, he sings here. We only bend our foreheads to God. He helped liberate his hometown from Al-Qaeda, and he was filmed here celebrating the expulsion of Houthi forces from Aden in 2016. In other words, he was dedicated to restoring Yemen's legitimate government. So he welcomed the intervention of Emirati troops as part of a Saudi-led coalition, which he believed would restore peace. But when the Emiratis set up their own militias, some of whom looked like a private army, he began to suspect their real ambition was to take over.
فشكلوا هذه الميليشيات خارج نطاق الدولة، سيطروا على الميناء، سيطروا على المطار، سيطروا على المناطق الحيوية. بدأنا نشعر بالقلق والخوف أن هذا ليس عونا، أن هذا احتلال.
Then a group known as the Mothers of Aden began protesting that hundreds of their men were disappearing in jails the UAE did not even admit existed. Adel al-Hassani was himself arrested in 2016 after he'd complained to the Saudis about these secret prisons. He was taken to Emirati military headquarters behind this wall where he says the torture began. He only agreed to talk to me about it amid the safety of the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur, almost 4,000 miles from Aden, though he certainly hasn't left behind the memory of what he endured.
ثم أخذني إلى حفرة ضيقة يسمونها حفرة الوحش، وقيدني بيدي وقيد الرجلين، وبقيت في هذه الحفرة لمدة 48 ساعة معصب العينين ومقيد دون ماء أو غذاء أو حمام، وكدت أن أموت في تلك 48 ساعة. هذا كهرباء.
There were 5 torture sessions in 3 Emirati prisons, he says. He was accused of using social media against the UAE, ordered to confess to being a member of Al-Qaeda, and he was hung from the ceiling and given electric shocks.
ووايرات وأسياخ وكهرباء ويضعونها في الذكر وتحت الإبطين ووسائل كثيرة للتعذيب.
The men who tortured you, were they Yemenis or were they Emiratis, Emirati forces?
لكن الذي يعذب والذي يحقق والذي يشرف على السجن والسجانين ومدير السجن الكل إماراتي.
In August, a UN panel of experts on Yemen concluded that all sides in the conflict may have committed war crimes. It said hundreds of individuals have been detained for perceived opposition to the government or to the United Arab Emirates. It continued, detainees described being interrogated while naked, bound and blindfolded, sexually assaulted and raped. The UN's researchers visited this jail, Bir Ahmed, where Mr al-Hassani was also held, and remarkably, which he managed to film using his mobile phone and bribing a Yemeni guard. The UN report said nearly 200 detainees had been stripped naked at Bir Ahmed in March 2018, and that many of them had been raped with tools and sticks by Emirati personnel. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have carried out their own similar reports, which have either been denied or ignored.
Unfortunately, here we are today, late 2018, and we still haven't seen not only accountability for these abuses, which is why it's not surprising to me that abuse is continuing, but you've also seen the UAE continue to deny any role in abusive detention practices across Yemen, despite the documentation that's come out.
So when you've talked to the UAE government about torture, what have they said?
The UAE government has not responded to the multiple letters that we have sent them regarding abusive detention practices in South Yemen.
Most international condemnation has fallen on Saudi airstrikes, which have killed civilians, as well as Yemen's looming famine. So the conduct of Emirati troops under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed has gone relatively unexamined. Away from the skyscrapers and holiday resorts, the UAE, who've spent billions on high-tech weapons and mercenaries, have quietly become one of the most powerful military forces in the Middle East. They didn't respond to any of our allegations, and why should they, if their control of southern Yemen's ports and airports has arguably made them too important to condemn.
If your new hobby is collecting pods, and you're trying to present your credentials as the West trusted counter-terrorism ally in the region, and there is no parliament who asks you questions, then human rights are not things that will keep you awake at night or will make you worry about.
Adel al-Hassani was released in April after a year and 9 months in jail when a Yemeni minister he knew intervened. He'd never been tried in any court. His wife and children have escaped to the Far East with him. Otherwise, he says, he would not dare speak out.
يعني أعاني من أمراض أنا لحد الآن، يعني هذه عيني اليمنى من الدكم تأثرت، كذلك أضراس، نزعت أضراس من الدكم، نزعت ضرسها من الدكم، وكذلك معي ورم في الخصية اليمنى، والحمد لله على كل حال.
This week, the mothers of Aden were again protesting about secret prisons and the men who have disappeared. Adel al-Hassani says he saw prisoners bleeding from sexual assault and that dozens have died from torture. His hope is that the UAE's conduct here will finally be given the attention it deserves amid the many horrors of Yemen's appalling war.
Jonathan Rugman reporting. Well, now, earlier I spoke to Professor Charles Garraway. He's the co-author of the United Nations Human Rights Report on Yemen. I asked him what he made of this programme's findings.
I thought it was extremely moving, but it also supported virtually everything that we had found in our report issued in August. So there was nothing that I found new in it.
And to what extent has the UAE actually acknowledged anything?
That's a very difficult question. We asked to meet with the UAE, and they would not meet with us unless they met us as part of the coalition. We tried to meet with them actually in Aden, but again that visit was cancelled. So we have had no response from the UAE to any of our letters other than the coalition response. They have not responded individually at all.
But you are working under the aegis of the United Nations.
We are.
They are members of the United Nations. So indeed is Britain, obviously.
Indeed.
And Britain has an enormous presence in the UAE. This doesn't make sense.
I wish it was as easy as that. I certainly believe that the United Kingdom has been very supportive of our mission and has done everything it can to help us in trying to ease some of the difficulties that we have had. But the politics in the Middle East are incredibly complex.
Professor, thank you very much indeed.
Not at all.